Hey my friends, how's it going? It's Ultimus, and today we are going to be continuing with our small little series I've been trying to put together on bare bones basics PvP. Now, last video we did a few weeks ago, we went over some of the importance of keybinds, tooltips on spells, knowing your spells, positioning, movement, all that stuff. So if you haven't checked that video out, I encourage you to go do so. And it's a great place to start for anybody looking to get into PvP, whether you have minimal experience or none experience whatsoever, and you're looking for some tips on just where to start. This video is going to be a little different. Nothing really hands-on or technical, but I feel like the topics we're going to cover today are just as important in PvP as knowing your class, quite simply. What we got going on in the background for you, just to give you a brief explanation, is a little bit of Ashran footage, just from last night's Ashran conquest for me, going in for my weekly, get those points, one piece of gear away from being fully geared. I'm looking forward to that, so then hopefully be able to get into some arenas and push some rating. Fingers crossed. It's always so hard to get into arenas and find people to push rating with, but that's a whole other video for a whole another time. The reason I was sharing some of this footage in Ashran, because Ashran is very much one of the PvP situations that can go back and forth and rubber band very, very quickly. You can go from utterly destroying the enemy team to all of a sudden you're seeing your butt handed to you on a platter and a bill taped to the bottom. It just turns around so very, very quickly, and there's a lot of factors that play into that. But I feel like what we're going to be showing here in some of this footage, you'll see back and forth and wins and losses and things like that. And that plays very much into what we're going to be talking about today. And that is mindset. And this is something I think a lot of people miss, and I think this is something that a lot of people need to understand when it comes to PvP. Mindset is just as important as knowing your class. It's just as important as finding a class to play that you enjoy. This is so much of PvP, because a lot of times PvP breaks down to mind games as it is anyways. Trying to trick the opponent into popping cooldowns more often than you're popping yours, etc, etc. So, for starters, when it comes to mindset, what is most important? Play what interests you. Don't necessarily feel pressure to play classes that you have absolutely no interest in just because everybody else wants you to. There's the balance between playing what there's a need for and what you can easily find games with in PvP, whether it's RBGs, 3s, 5s, whatever it is you feel like playing, but also playing what you want. For example, I had a buddy of mine who, when we played all through Cataclysm, he loved his mage. The problem was, he loved fire. He couldn't give two poots about frost. Every time he turned around, people were like, you should play frost. We had people choose to not play with us because he wasn't frost. Now, was that frustrating? Absolutely. That was one of the most frustrating things that we had to deal with, because we constantly were being turned down for games. I mean, I was playing on my Holy Paladin, he was playing on his Fire Mage, and we had people say, no, we're not playing with you because your buddy is fire. But at the end of the day, we still had fun just running 2s, and with the occasional 3s we did play, because he was playing what he wanted, he was having fun. I was playing what I wanted, we were having fun. And so find a way to bridge that gap between playing what there's a demand for or what's relevant, and playing what you want because that is what interests you. We're in a place in the game now where most specs can get away with being played in PvP one way or the other, and that's really cool, because we've never really had this kind of place in WoW PvP. Before, it's always been very cookie cutter. But at the end of the day, it's like you have to find and play what you're going to have the most fun with. For the longest time, I wanted to play Fury in arenas. I absolutely wanted to play Fury, but Fury had no place. I found people to play Fury with anyways, and it worked. But Arms was always the bread and butter. Now I've learned to enjoy Arms more so, and so it's okay, but it's nice being able to switch back and forth between Fury. A little bit of a sub point and note with that is accumulate and find people that don't mind playing with you playing that spec either. The group finder is an excellent tool for this kind of thing. You'll be surprised how many people you could find if you're honest about what you're looking for, what your play style is, how serious you are, etc, etc. I've accumulated quite a decent amount of friends and people on my friends list just using that silly group finder, because I'm just honest and forward about what my rating is, what my abilities are, what type of player I am, and what I'm looking for, hands down. Next point that we need to go over, and this is one of those things I think goes without saying, but it's one of those things that definitely can be easily forgotten, and that is that there is a learning curve. You're not going to be able to run into arenas and all of a sudden be the best at your class, no matter how good you are out of your circle of friends. It just doesn't work that way. You're coming up against people that have been playing this for years. Sure, you may shoot up through the ranks rather quickly, but eventually you're going to come to a point where you can't seem to make it past that 1800 into 1900, or you can't quite break into 2K, or you're just having a really hard time breaking into the 2300 bracket because there's people that have been playing this so much longer and are just simply more experienced. A lot of the times it comes down to just continually playing and playing and praying and practicing, and that was a gnarly tongue twister, but we're going to keep rolling anyways because this is what we do. We're doing it live. But there is a learning curve. It doesn't matter how good you are out of your circle of friends, out of your guild, whatever it is, there's always going to be someone better than you, and you always have to start from the bottom, more or less. You may climb the ladder quicker than other people, but you're starting from the bottom. That's all there is to it. And especially for someone who's coming into PvP with minimal or no experience, you might be the best in your raiding guild, but you've never done arenas before. It's a different game, and it's okay. That is very much okay, and I think a humble attitude and understanding that you're not going to be the best right off the bat, and just have fun with it and know you're going to learn stuff and pay attention and be willing to admit that you're going to make mistakes and communicate those mistakes with your arena partners or friends you're BGing with, that will go a long way. That will go a very long way. The next thing to keep in mind when it comes to Warcraft PvP is something that I forgot and kind of didn't really have any grip on when I first started seriously getting into PvP, and that's this. You're going to lose. A lot. You're going to have streaks where you lose 5 games in a row. You're going to have streaks where you lose 10 games in a row. You're going to have nights where you lose so much and so badly, you're going to need to log off, go take a shower, get some food, go on a run, lift some weights, and play with your puppy before you come back and are in a right frame of mind to be able to play again, because it is going to be so frustrating. It's going to turn even the calmest and most non-ragey players into borderline rage monsters. Flat out, you're going to come up against comp imbalance, class imbalance, people that are just way better than you, that no matter what you do, it's going to feel like your defensive cooldowns didn't do jack squat. You're going to come up against people who are so good at using their defensive cooldowns, it's going to feel like your offensive cooldowns didn't do jack squat. And again, that's okay. It's how you learn. And so I would encourage you as a new PvPer to just go into that understanding you're going to lose. Take it one game at a time. Try to figure out what cost you the match. Did you just get outplayed? Did you make a mistake where you popped too many cooldowns too quickly? Did you overlap CC? Things like that. Those are the things that you look out for that will definitely cost you matches or could have made the match go a little bit smoother. And those are the things you look out for. But for the most part, just understand you're going to lose a lot. And even the top tier PvPers will tell you that. They lose a lot. I've been in some of Bajira streams, I've been in some of Sidu streams, I've been in some of Smexen streams, Venruki streams, these guys that are top tier players, and they go on some losing streaks. It happens to the best of us, and the worst of us alike. And so keeping that mindset that you're going to lose a lot doesn't necessarily make it easier, but it can soften the blow, and it can make it a little bit easier to bounce back and understand that, you know what, you win some, you lose some, it's a game, this is how you get better. Next point, and this is one that we touched on earlier briefly, so we won't spend a whole lot of time on it, but it definitely is one of the most important aspects to PvP, at least in my standpoint, and that is be honest with yourself and your teammates. Don't be arrogant and try to present yourself like you are the best of your class, and every time you lose it's because of some kind of lag, or hacks, or someone else wasn't healing you, or the paladin forgot to cast freedom on you. Don't act like you're that big of a deal. You're not. If you don't have rank 1 Glad, you're probably not that good. Let's just be real here. Let's level the playing field. I mean, even as I'm making this guide, part of me is thinking, what right do I have to make this guide? I've never hit Gladiator. I've never gotten out of the 1500 brackets and 3s for a lot of reasons. You know, but at the same time, I know what it's like to be at the bottom. I understand the basics, and I want to communicate with that. And so I feel like even in making this guide, it's a precedent for that. It's that, you know, I'm being honest with myself and my abilities. I know I'm not the best, so I'm not going to present myself as the best. But I know I'm not the worst player either, and I feel like my time spent playing PvP and WoW, I've accumulated at least a decent amount of information to share with you guys that will at least be somewhat helpful. On that note, please keep in mind as well, there's nothing worse than playing with someone who constantly talks about how bad they are. It's awkward, it's uncomfortable for everybody. There's no need in acting like you're the worst PvPer out there and being so self-deprecating, it's just uncomfortable to play with you. Be real with yourself, be real with your teammates. It goes a long way. It helps make things fun. All of a sudden, everything's out on the playing field. There's nothing being hidden. Everyone just understands that this is where they're at, this is your experience. And at the end of the day, you two have made a choice, or you three, if you're doing threes, have made choices to queue together. So at the end of the day, there's nothing wrong with saying, you know what, this isn't working out, no harm, no foul, thanks for the try. It happens. But I think if you're honest with yourself about your abilities and how good you are as a player, and with your teammates, especially if you're using the group finder, that alone will speak volumes. And that's how you make friends. That's how you make friends. That's how you accumulate a friends list and a battle.net friends list, I guess, I don't even know what to call it really, of people to PvP with. Next thing on the list to talk about that is definitely, it's hit and miss, but I've had good luck with it, and that's the group finder. We've mentioned this quite a bit throughout the course of the guide here, this part 2, but the group finder. Browse through that. Don't be afraid to make groups yourself. If you can't find a group that's looking for a role that you can fill, be brave. Put yourself out there and make the group yourself. A lot of times people are waiting for you to make the group. You'd be surprised how quickly you could fill a group up if you start one yourself. Everybody is in the same exact shoes you are. They're looking for someone else to start it instead of starting it. A lot of times you taking the initiative is what's going to make the difference between you getting those conquest points and pushing that rating or not. There's been a lot of times, even in my own case, I'm looking for people that are looking for a warrior, whether it's for WLS, Turbo Cleave, KFC, any kind of comp that needs a warrior. And you know what? I can't find them because I play a very common class. Let's be real here. Everybody and their mother has probably a warrior. And so a lot of times what it's going to boil down to is I need to make the group myself. And I have a decision to make. Am I going to be lazy? Am I going to be shy? Am I going to be, timid? Or am I going to just, put it together and make it happen? And a lot of times it ends up being very good. I've run into some bad players for sure, and some people that are just rude and mean, but you know what? That's what you get when you're playing a multiplayer game. For crying out loud, sometimes you play with your friends and they're rude. Let's be real here. And so taking that initiative, going out there, putting yourself out there, and understand you're not going to get anywhere without queuing, bottom line. Whether you're making the group or you're looking for the group. But take advantage of that group finder. You'd be surprised how many cool people you can meet, because they're all out there looking for the same exact thing. Games of arenas, bottom line. And then last but not least, when it comes to some basics of WoW PvP, some of the most important things when it comes to mindset, keep queuing. Keep queuing. Keep finding those teams. Keep hitting up your friends. Keep hitting up your guild. Keep hitting up trade chat. And keep queuing. It's the only way you're going to get better. After you've put together those basics that we talked about in our very first video, going over movement, spells, all that kind of stuff, line of sight, everything, the only thing that's going to get you better is if you continually keep queuing. If you continue to push through those losses, if you continue to maybe even look at your matches and try to figure out, what am I doing wrong? Why do I feel like I'm hitting my head against the wall and I'm not making any progress? Whatever it is, keep queuing. Don't quit. Don't give up. Take a break, sure. Take a break, not a problem. Switch over to leveling one of your alts up, or whatever it is. Whatever it is you do to kind of chill and WoW. But keep queuing. Don't quit. At that point, then you've already lost at that point. And sure, you might come to a point where it's like, you might discover PvP just isn't for me, and there's nothing wrong with that. There is lots of stuff to do, even at endgame in WoW, that can satisfy a lot of people, and that can make your $15 a month worth it, But no one's gonna dock you for trying, that's for sure. Keep queuing, keep that mindset in the right spot, and I think you're gonna go far, for sure. I hope all this makes sense. I hope it comes together in a way that it isn't confusing or frustrating or muddled together. Understand again, you're going to lose. You're going to get frustrated. It's with anything else with the learning curve. You're trying to learn something new. You're trying to progress. It's with anything else. School, new job, new relationships. It's just one of those things that with time you'll find if it's worth it to you, and if it's worth it to you, you will make progress. So that's gonna do it for this video. If you have any other tips for anybody, if you're an experienced PvPer yourself, for anybody that might be watching the video or checking out the comment section, please feel free to leave it in the video description or in the comment section below. If you guys can't get to the video description, silly Ultimus. But don't forget to leave it there. Don't hesitate to leave it there, especially if you're gonna actually give like legitimate feedback. Especially when it comes to like mindset. If you think there's anything that a PvPer's mindset should have that I didn't go over, please don't hesitate to again leave that there. I really want to hear what you guys have to say. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe if you enjoyed the video. Hopefully these are helpful in some degree for you guys. I never know if this kind of stuff even has a place here or if you guys are interested in it. It's definitely a shot in the dark, but I want to be able to make videos like this that are somewhat helpful to people, because I don't want to just make entertaining content. I want to make helpful content as well. So thanks for watching, guys, and I'll catch you next time.